You have to give something up in order to get something else. You have to change your habits in order to change your life. It's unrealistic to just be like, I'm going to change my life tomorrow. It's easy to think it, but you're never going to do it.
If you're easy on yourself all the time, none of those things are going to happen.
Give yourself grace to say, I can't wake up 4 hours earlier than I have been for the past year tomorrow. Give yourself discipline to say, I can do 15 minutes.
If I want to build something and look back at my life 5 years from now and like be in a different place, then I need to put in the work now. Like it starts today.
So should I just never work because somebody else has it easy? No.
I'm learning things.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite podcast, Stop the Internet Podcast. I'm Kelee.
I'm Rebecca. Hey girl.
Let's address the elephant in the room. The gavel is back.
Oh, yes, the gavel.
I feel like the gavel is like a part of me. Wait, this is such a good transition. I was going to just organically say I've been in a rut.
Oh, yes.
Without it, like I feel like anytime I'm flopping in life, it's probably because I'm not using the gavel as much as I should be.
It's science backed. Kenny brought us back the gavel. Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny.
You a real one.
So it's back and we're going to be pounding it hard.
Yeah, this is my kryptonite on this podcast.
I know.
I like having something to do with my hands.
Yeah, just you can totally do that. Just make sure it's not like hitting another thing, you know? Yeah, perfect.
You're watching Disney Channel.
We're going back to our roots. Oh, it's so nice to have the gavel back.
It is.
Did you see that Simone Biles and I think it was Jordan Childs, they just won the gold medal and they go over to each other?
Oh, Suni Lee.
Oh, it was Suni. Okay.
Yeah, so I saw that.
Suni goes over to Simone and goes, I want to do the TikTok where, and Simone like cuts her off and goes, oh, when we do this. And she's like, oh, that one and like something else. And they're both like, I want to do this. And they're both like, okay.
Yeah, I loved that.
That was so pure.
I know.
Like, it was so cute.
It was so 2024 core.
I know. And I just like love that they're not like embarrassed. Like it's fun to make a goofy little video.
Yeah.
Even if you're like the best athlete in the world.
Right.
So cute.
We would all do the same thing if we just won gold. Like what TikToks are we making?
Yeah. And if you're making fun of people for making TikToks, just know that Simone Biles, the greatest athlete of all time, is making TikToks.
Just know that you're a loser, actually.
Yeah, true. And what goes through the mind of an Olympian when they just won the gold medal at the 2024 Olympics? It's the TikTok they're going to make later today.
Yep.
And I feel like that says something.
Same. Real. They're so real for that.
So real for that. Do you have any life updates you want to share?
Actually, yes, I thought about this on the way here. Amazing. How last time we recorded, I was talking about my Diet Coke cleanse. Happy to report I lasted 2 weeks, which was a long time.
That is a long time.
But I'm back. She's back.
That's fine.
Actually, Coke Zero, which maybe it's a little better than Diet Coke.
Is it? What's the difference?
I think Coke Zero, it's made with like Splenda or something, whereas Coke or Diet Coke is aspartame.
Okay.
I don't know. They're all chemicals at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, it's the chemicals that you drink.
So true.
But yeah, I did last 2 weeks and I don't know. I don't know what I learned. I don't know if it did anything. But as I said, I do like sometimes just having little challenges.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sprinkled into my life.
That's fun.
So that's my only update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slay.
Proud
of you.
Thanks.
Actually, speaking of habits, well, not that we were speaking of habits, but like
kind of.
Okay, we were kind of speaking of habits. And we are talking about how to get out of a rut today. And it was Rebecca's idea to talk about this. But as I was reading other people's advice and thinking about it, there was a lot about habits and how habits take a while to form, and like everything in your life is a habit. And it's really crazy to think like that. Like, almost everything we do is a habit, and we can change our habits if we like put our mind to it, but it's not easy. Sometimes it's just like crazy that like we are just like robots almost,
creatures of habit, of routine, if you will.
And the human body thrives on routine, so it's not like it's a bad thing to have routines, but like sometimes they can be bad if we get into a rut, which is probably just like a bad habit, but we are calling it like a slump or a rut. But it's possible that it's because of a decision that we made that led us to do a certain action, and then we just fell into this habit. So now it's a rut.
Yeah.
Something that I was reading when I was reading other people's advice is like, make sure that you're not experiencing like a mental health concern or depression, because that I think is different.
Yeah.
If you are not dealing with mental health issues and you're in a rut, it's probably a rut. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, exactly. So not including the more extreme instances.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, I did see there was one question that I saw that one of the comments was like, I think this is a little more serious than maybe you think.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are not the instances that we're going to be speaking on. It's more just if you're in a period of life where you're neurotypical and you just happen to be in a slump or in a rut.
Mm-hmm. Facts. We will provide you with all the tips you need.
We will save your life.
Yes, we have the knowledge that you don't have.
We have the life experiences of 85-year-old men and women. So, and in between.
We've lived a lot of life, you guys.
Yeah, we're very knowledgeable and wise. So,
yes,
we will save you.
Do you have anything to say about the Titanic today?
Just that it still reigns supreme.
Yeah.
Okay,
Facts.
should we start talking about life advice?
Yeah.
Cool. What inspired you to pick this topic today?
Well, I've been in a rut myself.
Wow. Okay, and how would you describe a rut?
Well, I'm going to say specifically with work and like productivity. I feel like I'm just trudging through mud trying to like get things done all summer. Well, late spring into summer. I do think I'm starting to come out of it, because one thing about me is I thrive during this time of year where it's like late summer into fall. I just love it. Like August, September. Yes. I think it has something to do with like back to school. And I just like loved that time period growing up and shopping at Staples with my mom. Iconic. Like it just brings me back, you know? So that's kind of what has helped bringing me out of it recently. Like this week, for example, I mean, it's only Wednesday, so knock on wood, but I do feel like I've been even just a little bit more productive and like ready to tackle the day with enthusiasm.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Like change of seasons really does like change the way that we live.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like the phrase this summer is so common, but people don't really say like this winter or this fall, like in the same way as they're like, let's do it this summer. You know what I mean? Like it's just different. People live their lives differently in the summer.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we're raised to do that with school, and then people just continue to think of summer as a different time.
Yeah.
And different than the rest of the year. And also I guess it's just the fact that people want to do more activities and you have more freedom because you have more time to do things. There's more daylight. Like there's so many reasons why, but I don't even know what thought I'm trying to get at. But I guess it's like, I wonder how it is to live in a place where we don't have seasons, because you have seasons of life, but a lot of times they are dependent on the season, the literal season that it is. Like, I don't know why that. I mean, I guess it's because people live their life differently depending on if it's sunny or if it's cold.
Right.
Which is interesting to me.
It's like a marker of time. Like this year, for example, I would probably say like I had a bad winter and spring versus like saying anything else.
Yeah.
Like that would just be how I, you know?
Yeah. How you think back on time periods. You're not like December through March. You're just like the winter was hard on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the seasons really do affect the human brain and body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't really know like what the point is there, but it's just an interesting observation to see like how different life is during different seasons of weather, not seasons of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like people's productivity is different. It's just the sun, honestly.
I know. It's like, I don't want to be sitting at a laptop, you know? I want to be like, I got into running. I want to be running. I want to be walking. I want to be in a park just staring into the distance. Like,
yeah. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's the warm weather and the sun that was getting you out of the like winter, early spring slump?
No, I don't know. I think I had a lot of trips this summer, both like planned and not so much planned, and I feel like it's just been nice.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to be home a lot in August, and I think that will also help in its own way, just getting me back into a routine and like not traveling as much.
It's funny because traveling can make you, it like raises your mood and like your overall baseline state. I think, at least for me, it does. But then at the same time, you're not as productive because you're traveling and like doing fun things.
Yeah.
But then maybe it does make you more productive. Like maybe you're not as productive in like the hours of like 9 to 4 p.m. But just in life, you're like re-inspired to be productive when you do sit back down at your desk and need to do these daily tasks.
Yeah, like I think it brings a new perspective on your everyday life when you come back from a trip too. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, I appreciate things so much more.
Yeah. When we were in Europe, coming back from that, so if anyone doesn't know, we went to Europe together well, I say Europe, but it was just France. Just France.
Yeah.
One solo country,
yeah.
Not just France. Yeah. But I was there for 2 weeks. Rebecca was there for 1 week. I don't know if you felt this being there for 1 week, but being there for 2 weeks, I actually started to like get into a different rhythm and like see how people live there. And also I was on vacation, so it's not as perfect, I'm sure, for normal European people that are just living there. But coming home, I was almost like, ugh, this is so bland and blah. Like, I did not want to leave.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
It was so nice. Go to Europe, life hack.
Oh my God, no, seriously, like,
yeah.
It's funny because a couple weeks before, or maybe even the week before we left, I was talking to Trisha on the podcast about how traveling and spending time in other places, because we were talking about like how when you just like up and move to Paris for a year or a few years, I was saying that yes, that is an amazing life experience, but it's not the only way to experience life and experience life lessons and gain knowledge and wisdom and stuff. And then I went to Paris and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And while I do think it's true that it's not the only way, even spending time in other places, you don't have to up and move, but even making a point to spend time in other places, even if it's a short amount of time, like a week or two, is still life-changing, I feel like.
Yeah, I do think traveling, it's very like you learn a lot traveling that I don't think you learn doing other things, to be honest.
Like what?
I don't know. Just like I think it's important to be in other cultures and like see how other people in the world live. And I don't think that's something you can replicate just like not doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Another thing that I think is cool about traveling is it really just shows you how big the world is. And when you're getting so like caught up in your own life, and I don't know, I feel like it's sometimes easy to think that you know it all, or not that you know it all, but what is the point I'm trying to make? Like sometimes you just get into a rut of thinking like I have it all together. And maybe this is the lesser common rut with people in their like 20s and 30s. But I do think there are times where you might think like, yeah, I have it all together. And like, I don't need to read a book. I don't need to like listen to a self-help podcast or like better myself right now because I'm doing pretty well. But even just going to another country and being like, oh, there are so many things that I don't know. And it's not necessarily these like groundbreaking things, but even just reminding yourself that the world is huge and there are so many people in the world that are all as equally important and complicated and interesting as you are. And I don't know, it's humbling. And it also is like, yeah, you just see other people and you're like, wow, that's so interesting that that's someone's life. Like, I do need to keep learning and keep like experiencing new things so that I don't think that the way that I live is superior or the only way to live. And I feel like it's a very American thought to be like, yeah, we just live the best life. Like, we literally are raised in America to be like, America's the best, #1 country in the world. And it's like, it is great. There are other places that like, I don't know. I feel like I heard this thought on social media in the past, like maybe 5 or 10 years, where not everyone wants to come to America. Like, sure, a lot of people probably do, but a lot of people also want to move to France and Japan and like all these other places in the world. And I think it's a cool thought to get out of this like American headspace or like thought process where you just think that everyone wants to come here and live the American dream. Like, no, there's 1 million people in France that never want to move and they would visit America and like never want to leave France. Like, I don't know. I guess that's like completely irrelevant, but it's just cool to like, just see that other people are living these like really, really cool lives and they don't want what you want. And I don't know. It just is eye-opening and mind-opening.
Yeah, I also think traveling instills confidence. Like, for example, trying to figure out how to navigate public transportation in Italy. They don't speak, well, I guess that's a bad example because most of them do speak English, but like, you know, it's just different. And like, I think you learn lessons from that other than just navigating transportation in a way. And it's like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's just important to travel. Like, and I understand not everyone can or is able to do that or even wants to or prioritize it, but it's something that I do because I think it's just important.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. And you learn a lot.
No, I agree. And I feel like all the stuff that I just said, I'm like, I don't even know how to put it like in words to think about like the ways that it changes your way of viewing the world, but it just changes it. I
No,
don't
it
know.
does. It really does.
And I think the more like people you see and interact with, the more you're like, wow, like it just opens your mind in so many ways.
And if you're able to like having conversations with locals and just in tiny interactions with people over there that live there, it really does open up your mind. And over the years, if you travel a lot, it's like it changes who you are. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so to get out of a rut, go to France.
Go to France for 2 weeks.
Yeah, see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like all of this was kind of irrelevant, but like to the rut topic, because it's obviously not possible for everyone to just like plan a trip, but it could help you if you're able to, you know?
Yeah, it gives you perspective. All these things, so.
And also it just like switches up your daily routine. And it doesn't have to be France. It can be anywhere. It can even be the town next to yours. Just like try to change your scenery. Like getting a change of scenery can be very healthy.
Yeah, that was one of my points actually.
Really?
On my doc, I wrote down change of scenery. I feel like that covers that point though.
Yeah.
Check.
My first like just overall thought about getting out of a rut is kind of not as like happy and perfect, but I just think that if you are unhappy or if you're feeling like in a slump, you need to change things and you need to want to change things and be willing to change things. There is no life hack that will magically make everything better. If you want to change your life, it takes effort and you have to just do it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think I wrote that somewhere too. Be honest with yourself. That kind of goes along with what you're saying. Like, it's so easy to just tell yourself, you were saying this in an earlier podcast, like, it's easy to convince yourself that you're working hard, but like, are you actually?
Yes.
It's so easy to just be like, yeah, I did a lot today, but it's like, no, like actually take stock of what you're doing and throughout the day. And it's like, maybe you did one task and that's not enough to change your life. Like, sorry. So I think you have to be hard on yourself sometimes. And I think it's a fine balance between being kind to yourself and taking a rest day. But you do have to have discipline, like self-discipline, and just like do the thing. Like with working out, with eating healthy, with getting a lot done, with wanting to move ahead in your career. Like if you're easy on yourself all the time, none of those things are going to happen. So yeah, it's a tough balance, I think.
That's such a good point because yes, like while you want to give yourself grace, if you want to be like a highly productive person, like sometimes I think about like successful people and I don't know, a lot of times that is rooted in like financial success or business success. But most of those people are highly productive people and maybe they're too productive. Like maybe they don't give themselves enough grace. But if all you're doing is cutting yourself some slack and giving yourself grace and not ever initiating the discipline and being a little bit, I don't even want to say hard on yourself, but just realistic with yourself, I think that can actually be really bad. And you do have to find a balance, but you have to realize that it takes discipline too. Like it is a balance.
Yeah.
And maybe you will go through phases where the discipline scale is heavier. Like you need to give yourself more discipline. And maybe that is when you're in a certain type of rut. I feel like I get like that with myself sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working hard. I convince myself I'm working hard. But then I'm like, wait, no, like I'm getting so distracted. I'm sleeping in later than I want to be. And it's like, it is not bad for me to like encourage myself the way that I would encourage like a stranger and be like, come on, like you can do it. You know, you're a smart girl. You got to get up off your ass and work. Like, you have to do the things you want to do. And you can't just be like, well, I'm trying. It's like, well, you're in a rut for a reason. What are you doing wrong? Like if you're in a rut, something has to change.
Yes.
And you have to be realistic with yourself and be able to be like, yeah, I need to change it.
Yeah.
I need to take the steps in order to change my life, because if I keep living the same way, nothing's going to change. And if you aren't able to be realistic with yourself, like then you're going to be in a rut forever.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
Yeah.
I fear. I read a lot of those profiles of like successful people and their day to day. There's one on The Cut, the series. It's called How She Gets It Done, I think. And they profile women in business. And a lot of them are founders, CEOs. And I would say the common theme amongst all of them is like these people utilize every waking hour in the day.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A lot of them have kids. So if that's the case, they wake up at like 4 a.m. But even if they don't, it's like they're still waking up at 5:30, checking emails, working out, getting a good breakfast in, and then they go to bed kind of late. And it's like, the reality is if you want to be at that level, like that's what your day just has to look like. Maybe that's not the case for everyone, but I do read a lot of these profiles and they're all kind of like, yeah, they're up at 4 and they go to bed at 10. And that's like,
I mean, that's insane.
I mean, that is insane. So I don't know, prioritize sleep for sure. But like, I think in general, if you're trying to reach a certain level of success, which looks different to everyone, but like, yeah, I think a lot of people, they just start their days and end their days a little longer or earlier.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's such a good point. And one of the things that I wrote down is sleep habits, because I feel like I've been struggling with sleep. I have ADHD, and I think that it actually really affects when I go to bed. And it's a really bad habit. It's also a habit. So one, it's like something that is working in my brain against me, but it is also a habit that I have done to myself. It is my fault. And I have to be realistic about that and not just, I guess like my point about having discipline and like not cutting yourself slack for every single thing is because if all I did was say, oh, well, I go to bed late and I get up late because I have ADHD. It's like, okay, so then either fix it or stop complaining about it. And I'm saying that to myself.
Yeah.
So I need to do something differently in my actions that I take at bedtime and wake up time, you know? So I was just inspired to try to get better sleep. And I thrive when it is silent and pitch black. But if I had blackout curtains, I wouldn't be able to wake up because I cannot wake up in a dark room.
It's hard.
Yeah. So I looked up automatic curtain openers and I bought them. I bought 2 of them. They were like $60. I think they used to be like $200, but now it was $62 on Amazon. So I was like, you know what? That's a deal.
Yeah.
So I set up a curtain rod in my room, and I have 2 windows. So I set one up just to like test it out, and it works, and it's so cool. I just did it the other day too, like 3 days ago. And I need to do it on the other window now because I think that it will help me go to bed earlier and fall asleep faster. And then I can open them at like 7 a.m. or have them open at 7 a.m. And hopefully like my circadian rhythm will like start to evolve and be better. I saw someone else's tip about waking up early and going to bed earlier. And someone said, if you get up at 9, start getting up at 8:45 every day for a week. The next week, 8:30, then 8:15, and so on. Don't rush the process because then you will be back at square one when you inevitably mess up. Probably even before that. Just practice getting up at the same time every day if you aren't already. And I think that's such a good point because I think it's so easy to hear these pieces of advice that are like, well, if you get up at 9, get up at 6, 5 a.m. club every single day. That's not going to be realistic if you've been getting up at 9 for the past few years. Get up at 8:45. Get up at 8:30. Like work your way there. And I think it's way more realistic for a normal person to do that rather than just trying to like change everything all at once and flip your life around in a day. That's giving life hack. That's giving let's change our lives. Like, no. That's impossible. And it's unrealistic for the human brain and body. Yeah. But working at things slowly, and maybe that's where you give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to say, I can't wake up 4 hours earlier than I have been for the past year tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Give yourself grace to be like, that's not possible for me. Give yourself discipline to say, I can do 15 minutes or I can do half an hour.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And that's something I could implement with other areas of my life. For example, it sounds silly, but like the sugar and the Diet Coke thing, like I've been really hard on myself the past few months because it's just like I go through periods where I'm like, okay, I've had dessert like every night this week. Like I'm going to go cold turkey. But then eventually it's like, then all I want is sugar.
Right.
And so sometimes it works for me, but most times it doesn't. And so I think it's about like, okay, maybe I'll have sugar every other night. And then maybe it turns into only on the weekends. Like it's a slow process. And, you know, sugar isn't everyone's like vice, but it is mine. So that's where I need to like have grace with myself, but also be like hard on myself at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the general rule of thumb.
Yeah. And I feel like anything cold turkey, if you're going to go back to it, isn't possible, I guess. Like smoking, for example. If you go cold turkey, I would assume that your goal is to never go back to it. So maybe cold turkey would work for that. But if you do something habitually every day and then you go cold turkey, but then you still want it sometimes because it's not like the most unhealthy thing, like maybe it's sweets, maybe it's like, I don't know, a sweet treat or something. That's something that in life you don't have to, like, it's not life or death to go cold turkey, you know? Yeah. So maybe that's the thing where cold turkey isn't the best way to do it. I don't know, though, when it comes to stuff like that.
I don't know either. All I know is that I feel like with TikTok and with Instagram, it's a lot of content where it's like, girl, like get the afternoon sweet treat today. But it's like, but why? And like, don't. Like sometimes, I don't know. It's like, it's so hard because sometimes sure, but then other times like, what if you're trying to cut out dessert or eat less dessert and then you see that and it's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna go do that, and then you just break this like progress that you've made.
I follow this influencer that had a good point about something like that, and she said, if you're trying to get into a new habit, don't let your reward be the opposite of the habit. So if you want to get yourself to work out every single day in order to be healthy, don't let the opposite be not working out for a week or being completely lazy. So like, let's say you want to work out 5 days a week. Don't let the reward be not moving your body at all for the 2 days that you're resting or that you're rewarding yourself. Go on an easier walk that day. Like, and then for sweets, it's if you want to cut out sugar or cut out dessert for 5 days a week, don't let the reward be eating a giant piece of cake on the weekends, because then it becomes like a battle between the two and you're like waiting for the weekend to come so that you can eat your one day. And the weekend's an analogy, you know, it could be Tuesdays, that's your cheat day. When I was in college, 2 of my roommates and I, honestly, I want to talk about this in like length on another episode, but just fell into really toxic eating habits because one of my roommates watched a YouTube video of this like health influencer at the time where basically she had a great body, and I'm sure it was her job to be healthy because she was a fitness YouTuber, but apparently she said something along the lines of, if you are healthy 6 days a week and you don't eat sweets or sugar, you can eat whatever you want on the 7th day. That very quickly can turn into toxic eating habits and binging and purging. And it's really, really dangerous for some people to live life like that. So the reward should not be the opposite of the discipline action.
That's actually a good point. That's very like 2010s core.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, so bad.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it, but I want to like really think it out and like take notes so that I can share the story and the experience in a healthy way and like give good advice and not, because it's a very heavy topic, obviously, when you're talking about like eating habits and the toxic relationships with food.
Yeah.
But it's really important. And I feel like it's so easy to fall into them for many people, especially young women.
Totally. Yeah, there's a lot of that on TikTok now I'm seeing of like,
I know,
just not so good habits being had, but anyway, I think small changes are key to getting out of a rut. Not like, and with productivity, which is like what I've been dealing with, like I've just been trying to tackle things slowly and not be like something I do is like, tomorrow's the day. Like tomorrow is the day where I'm gonna do all of the heavy lifting tasks. And it's, the reality is you wake up and it's like you're still in the same space mentally. It's like, no, today's not the day where you're suddenly gonna like tackle all these projects and do all these side hustles. Like you have to slowly implement them into your life.
That's such a good point. And I think that maybe instead of saying, like, let's say you have 5 like bigger life tasks to do. Yeah, instead of saying, I'm doing all of them tomorrow, what if you say 9 to 10 a.m. is my life task time?
Yeah.
And so every day of the week between that time, that's when you do one task or you work towards one task, depending on how big it is. Like, yes, I agree. It's unrealistic to just be like, I'm going to change my life tomorrow. It's easy to think it, but you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe you do have one really productive day. It's not going to turn your life around, although it could help you like boost your mental energy that day or that week. It's unrealistic to do, like, if you're doing one good thing one time every quarter, that's really not that great long term. Let's just do one small thing every week, every day that's productive, and you will set yourself up for success for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Because now you're in a habit. It's a habitual relationship with this life task.
Yeah.
A lot of the advice that I was reading to get out of a rut talked about the book Atomic Habits. Have you read it?
No, but I've heard many people talk about it. I don't think it's for me.
Okay.
I don't think most self-help books are for me, unfortunately.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. It's hard for me to read these things and actually do them.
Right.
And I think a lot of them say the same thing. So unless there's one that's just like so incredible that you must read. But I've even read some of those, like the Eckhart Tolle books. The Power of Now is one of them. I've read that and I'm like, Okay, and like, I don't know, like, what's the action item here?
Wait, so it didn't really give you an action item as much.
No, that one I will say it's a bad example for what we're talking about because it's a more philosophical book. I think Atomic Habits is literally like, do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
So maybe I should read that one, honestly.
I read part of it, didn't finish it because I was just like, I've consumed a lot of self-help or like business books via audiobook and summaries of them. So I agree that a lot of them are kind of saying the same thing. And by listening to a lot of audiobooks and then like listening to just the summary, there's so many filler words that if you listen to an hour-long summary, you can get a lot of the benefits that you would get by listening to an 8-hour audiobook or reading the actual book. I'm sure there is something, maybe the filler words help you retain the information faster, because when it's just giving you bullet points in a 40-minute to an hour long audio summary, you're like, okay, that, like how much are you really retaining? So maybe that's the point of reading the whole book. But I do think that a lot of them are saying the same thing, but maybe that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's if we're making the observation that all of the self-help books that are the most iconic self-help books of all time, like, not that they're of all time, but like, I feel like not everyone, but a lot of people know Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like how to not give a fuck or whatever that one is. Yeah. It's like that corny ass, sorry. I'm going to say the corny ass title with the F word in it to like get your attention in Barnes & Noble. It's like, oh, I need to read that. That's going to change my life. It's like
probably a marketing tactic.
It is a marketing tactic. And there's probably a million other books called like, bitch, you're going to slay today. And because it has a curse word in the title, like every girl boss is picking up off the shelf. Okay. Relax. Let's read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't know. Whatever. There's like a whole list of books that you can read that if you look up like best self-help books, it's going to be the top 10. Anyway, listen to a summary of all of them. But if every summary is saying the exact same things, instead of being like, oh, they're all the same, whatever. Why don't we think, okay, if every successful person is saying the same thing, maybe I should act on those things, which I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Too.
And it's all about like what medium works for you. Like podcasts actually do work for me more than self-help books. Like in terms of reading, I'm more of a fiction person, but like that's why I do like podcasts and like self-help podcasts, because again, they're not saying anything like that you haven't heard before, similar to self-help books. But I guess the audio aspect and the fact that it's like typically an hour long, it does like seep into me a little bit deeper. Or like it's just what I needed to hear that day, even if it's like I've heard it a million times before. But I'm like, you know what? Okay, like I'm gonna be productive today, or like I'm gonna try to eat healthier today. And like hearing someone else talk about their experience with that like does help. So it's just about like what works for you. Yeah. Finding that.
And it's also the way that some people say it, like the way they put it into words. Yes, it's the same piece of advice, but maybe the way that this girl says it helps you. It speaks to you rather than the way that that girl said it, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember someone commented on one of our YouTube videos and was like, they keep saying the same pieces of advice in different ways. And I was like, yeah, that's what advice is. Like, that's literally what advice is taking an example, or a situation and saying, do the right thing. Like, that's literally all advice is, but you're just relating it to that situation or that person. Like, so yes, all the self-help books, they probably are saying the same thing, but maybe the way that one person writes it is going to click for you, or the example scenario that they give is going to relate the most to your life, and it's going to connect with you because of that. And I could say the same thing and maybe you don't give a shit about it, or it doesn't mean anything to you, but it's like, yeah, that's literally why there's 7 billion people on the earth and we all have a different perspective. Like,
right. Exactly. Nuance.
Yes.
Is important.
Yeah. I want to bring up that influencer that said the thing about not doing the opposite. That, remember, I was like, don't reward yourself with the opposite habit. Another thing that she said that I really thought was a good idea is tracking progress of healthy habits in a way that makes you feel good. And I kind of did this by accident. My freshman year of college, I was such a gym person. Like, all I did was cardio, but I went to the gym every single day. And sometimes if I was bored, I would go to the gym 2 times a day. Me and my friend would be like, want to just go like walk on the treadmill again? And we would go back to the gym because we just didn't, I mean, not that that's a good thing. Didn't join any clubs freshman year. Didn't do like I don't know. I could have been volunteering or like working with charities, but no, I just like walked on the treadmill or ran on the treadmill way too much. But I had this calendar. Do you remember those desk calendars that a lot of teachers had when we were in grade school that were like really big and they're flat and they have like enough space in each day to like take notes in it?
Yeah.
I got one of those and I would write like little notes in it. But every day that I went to the gym, I would put like a big X on it and highlighter. And so when I looked at the end of the month, like almost every single day was checked off except for like maybe 3. And I remember somebody asked me one time, like friends were in my room and they were like, oh, like what does this mean with all these check marks? And I was like, oh, that's the days that I went to the gym. And they were like, oh, wow. And I was like, wait, this is like good for me. Like I like, didn't even realize that I was doing it, but the habit of like giving myself a big yellow X or check mark was making me feel proud of myself. Yeah. And that makes a huge difference. And the influencer that I'm talking about, I remember she said she and her husband have a calendar in their kitchen and every day they go to the gym, they have gold star stickers, like, yes, the ones from kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they put it on their calendar. And she's like, it sounds stupid and silly, but it actually makes us feel better and it makes us feel proud of ourselves. And I was like, that is genius.
Yeah.
And someone else might say that's so fucking stupid and dumb. Who cares what you think about your own life? Right. This is my life.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about myself and my calendar and my little star.
My calendar. No, I love that. It's actually an example of a positive affirmation.
Yeah.
I feel like I would benefit from that because I don't resonate so much with like, you know, like putting a positive thing on Post-it note and putting it on your mirror.
Yeah, neither do I.
Like that's not going to work for me. Sorry.
Right.
But like I think the check mark, the giant highlighted check mark would work for me. So, okay, maybe I'll buy a calendar after this.
Yeah.
Let's go to Staples.
Or like yes, let's go. Putting like a heart on your like normal calendar.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even matter what it is, but something that makes you be like, yes, look how many little hearts I have.
Yeah.
Like, I'm proud of myself. And that's a really good example of it's not the opposite action. So you're not going home from the gym being like, oh my God, I went to the gym, chocolate cupcake. No, you're going home from the gym saying, heart on my calendar, gold star.
Yeah.
They're unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
They don't cancel each other out.
Right.
You know?
Right.
They build each other up.
Yes. I love that.
And then another thing about and I don't want this to come off like in a toxic way that's like, don't eat dessert. But if you're going home from the gym being like, chocolate cupcake, you might wake up the next day and say, oh, I got to go to the gym because I had a chocolate cupcake.
Right.
You're not having that toxic thought if you just had a gold star.
Right.
And even if you had a chocolate cupcake, that's fine. But hopefully then it's not like the reason why you're going to the gym because you're getting this like other reward. You know, you're not going to the gym because you had that cupcake. You're going to the gym because you're getting a gold star tonight. Like,
yeah.
It's a different thought process in my head, at least.
Because that's where I think is where associating something positive turns into negative fast. If you're like, I'm going to the gym only so I can cancel out dessert.
Yes.
Whereas, no, you're going to the gym to get a gold star.
Right.
Like it's a different connotation.
Yeah.
So.
And the dessert is unrelated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even if you had it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Slay.
Yeah.
I'm learning things.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that in so long, and I don't do that. And I have been seeing a lot of videos where people have these healthy habits journals and they fill in like a little box with a highlighter or a pen or something. And then it's like, I don't know, there's all different variations of it, but that is a variation of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so helpful to certain people, or it can be.
Yeah, I think that's actually good. I'm trying to be better about like my weekly habits, and I think in my head I tend to like be like, oh yeah, I go to the gym, or I don't have a gym membership, but like I work out 3 to 4 times a week. But like, do I actually?
Right.
And the same could be applied across the board with any category of life. So I think I'm going to start like actually tracking in a healthy way, but tracking my like daily habits.
Yeah.
Like I worked out today, check.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, or instead of being like, yeah, I worked out 4 times last week, but like maybe I didn't.
There was this thing called the 5-minute journal that I feel like that's popular too with like Atomic Habits. It's like all the same vein. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did like a business like mastermind thing a few years ago, and they brought that up in it. And it actually is kind of cool because you start it in the morning and you write something that you're grateful for. And then I can't remember exactly the layout. I think you write like 3 things you want to do today. And then at the end of the day, you kind of do the same thing and see what you did. But I do think it's a really good way to keep yourself on track and make sure that you're doing things, because I think that's something that I struggle with is I want to work hard today, but how do I work hard? What are the tasks that I'm doing that I need to work hard on? And I think that when you list it out in the beginning of the day, you're like, okay, this is when I spend time thinking about tasks. You don't like do one productive thing and now it's 12 p.m. and you're like, what next? Like, what next? Do you go back and look at the list you made as soon as you woke up, or maybe make it the night before?
Yeah.
And go down the list so you're not like worrying or wondering what task you're going to do. And it can be hard to even think of like what tasks you're going to do, because I do have a to-do list that I work through every day. And there are some times that I'm like, okay, but what should I do next? But I just think that even if you have 3 big things, at least you can look back on that day. And even if the 3 big things are clean my kitchen and do a kitchen reset, at least you can be like, I did something today and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And that's good for your mental health.
Yes. That's so true. I'm going to do all these things, you guys.
Yeah. Just don't make sure just make sure you're not doing the same things every day.
Yes.
Because you do need some discipline.
Yeah. Facts.
It can't all be grace. It has to be some of the hard stuff too.
Oh, that's one thing I'm lacking in my life.
Discipline?
Yeah.
Me too.
It's been a theme of this entire year, honestly, discipline. I used to like not struggle with this stuff at all, to be honest. And maybe I'm like rose-colored glasses, my life a little bit. But like, no, whatever. I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. I think like there was a time where it just came easier to me to like be disciplined with certain things. And I don't know, this year it's like, it's a little rough out here.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I think
in the air.
Yeah, I am definitely not as disciplined as I used to be. And honestly, I think it's because there's so much content out there about like, you're doing great. It's literally, we're giving ourselves too much slack, too much credit.
100%. I need to start like blocking keywords on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, like I'm not doing great. Like, actually, I need someone to be like, get the fuck... No, what's the Kim Kardashian phrase?
Get your ass up and work.
Yeah. Someone needs to be shouting that in my ear the second I wake up in the morning. Like,
yeah. And you're going to be shouting it in your own ear.
Yeah.
Once you have this productive habit calendar.
I'm going to record myself saying that and then set it as my alarm.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Not toxic at all.
Not at all toxic.
Wait, what you just said reminded me of a coworker I had in the past, where this coworker would always, she was very in the mindset of like, make the content be you deserve a break based, like make it be based in you can take the afternoon off, work-life balance, and like prioritize life and blah, blah, blah. And then it got to the point where we like assess outside of a meeting with her. And we were like, wait, literally all the content is don't work today. Don't work. Give yourself a break. Slack off. You deserve it. Work-life balance and choose life and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, no. You have to work.
Yeah.
Like, you have to work. I'm sorry. You can't just prioritize life all the time. That's why it's called balance. And sometimes there's going to be times where you're in a season where you have to work more than life.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be a season.
Yes.
Like, it was so funny. We were like, wait, we cannot keep posting this stuff. Like, we just like took a step back and realized like how much content was like, don't work. And we're like, this is a business. Like, we need people to work.
No, yeah. Actually, like, I'm going to bring up what we FaceTimed about the other night because it's kind of relevant to this. But I was like complaining to Kelee a little bit because I was like, I'm really behind on my shows. Like, I love Bravo, Housewives, Below Deck, all these shows. Like, they bring me so much peace in a weird way. Or it's like the only thing in my life, not the only thing, I'm sure, but like top of mind that I can think about that like actually helps me unwind.
Okay.
And I'm not thinking about anything else. Like, reality TV is that for me. And I'm behind on everything because we're trying to like do something on TikTok and like be someone.
Follow us.
Yes. And it's kind of taking away from my Housewives time. And I was like at a crossroads the other night because I'm like, wait, but I don't want to give this up. But the reality is like, if you want to build something and if you want to like work on a side project or passion, hustle, whatever, like, yeah, the reality is you can't be watching TV every night. Like, billionaires don't watch TV. Sorry. So it's like, I just got to get that through my little brain and realize that if I want to build something and retire by 40, then I can't watch TV every night.
I agree. And I think I talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, but if you want to say, you know what, I want to watch TV and I don't care about doing this XYZ work-based habit, work-based task in that time. Like, I want to choose to watch TV. That's fine. Like, I feel like the argument is like, money's not the only thing. Like, success in business isn't the only thing. And like, I want to choose life. That's fine. Like, choose life, but don't complain when you are not as successful in business and monetary ways as somebody else who is making a different choice.
Yeah.
Make whatever choice you want, but know that there are consequences, and not always negative ones, but there are consequences and outcomes from every single choice you make. And if you habitually choose life and not working as much as this other person works, don't complain when they have more money than you, when they have more life experiences than you. And for some people, it does come easier. Like, it's not always like we give the same amount of effort and we get to the same spot. Sure, some people have it easier. Some people had more money to invest than you will ever have. Like, yes, I get it. But at the same time, if you want to sit around and be like, well, that girl, she had rich parents, and so she started a mile ahead of me anyway. Yeah, she did. So are you just going to never work because she started ahead of you?
Yeah.
And I used to think like that. Like, I really used to be like, well, they just have it lucky because they have rich parents and they live in California. So like, they have like the most beautiful backdrops for their videos and they have it easy. Okay, yeah, maybe they have it easy. So should I just never work because somebody else has it easy? No. Get your fucking ass up and work. Like, and I'm telling myself this.
Me too. No, like, I subscribe to this business newsletter, and this guy was asked about how does he find the time to like source the content for the newsletter and write it every single day. It's a daily newsletter. He literally was like, I wake up at 6 a.m. every day to write this newsletter before my actual job. Every single day he writes this newsletter before his 9 to 5. And yes, that means that he works longer hours, but like, he's like, okay, I want to like build something. I'm trying to like make this newsletter, you know, something that everyone needs to read. And in order to do that and make it quality, I have to wake up earlier and do it before my actual job. And so he's like, yeah, I work like on the weekends and I wake up earlier to work than most people. But you know what? Like, I want to build something. And I read that and I'm like, damn, like I need to implement that into my life instead of like, I don't even know what the heck I do. Like some days I just scroll way too much. I watch way too much TV. And it's like, no, like if I want to build something and look back at my life 5 years from now and like be in a different place, then I need to put in the work now. Like it starts today.
It starts yesterday. No, I love that.
It started yesterday.
That's so true. And I actually, so because we have these new goals of like putting out more content on TikTok and stuff, I have been spending so much more time on TikTok, but I think that that is also what it takes to think of more ideas, because you're seeing like this trend, you're seeing this habit that this person's doing, and you're like, okay, like I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna work on this trend, I'm gonna create content, like I just was inspired by that piece of content, so I'm gonna make my own version of it, like all this stuff. And someone asked me the other day, oh, like what shows and movies do you watch? And I was like, oh, I don't really watch shows and movies. Like I spend my free time on YouTube and TikTok. And at first I was like, not at first, but I used to be like embarrassed to say that. Like, oh, I spend more time like on TikTok than I do watching TV. And I'm like, okay, first of all, it's just a form of entertainment. So why does it matter if I'm watching TikTok for an hour or if I'm watching Real Housewives for an hour? We're both receiving entertainment, like in my mind. I'm sure there's negatives to like watching short form. Like maybe it's doing something in my brain, but if you're just doing it for entertainment, like whatever. I definitely do spend too much time on it. Like I want to be able to be inspired to make content without spending so much time on the app. But at the same time, yeah, they're asking me like, oh, what shows do you watch? I'm like, I literally couldn't tell you the last time I watched a TV show. And maybe that's weird and like, oh, you spend so much time on social media. But like, if you want social media to be your job, that's what you have to prioritize. Like, yeah, you have to give something up in order to get something else. You have to change your habits in order to change your life. You have to make different choices and like do different things. And I'm not saying I'm like proud of myself for not watching TV. Like it would be great to watch TV, but like I just don't even think about TV. Like I don't even touch the TV remote on most days. Like I was thinking about that the other day. Like even if I'm sitting in my living room in front of a TV, like I do not even think to turn it on, because I'm like, and this is a more recent thing. I'm like, what videos can I brainstorm? What trends can I scroll through and brainstorm like my version of them? And like, I don't know, it's just a different, like I just have been thinking differently. And yeah, you give things up. Like I also like watching movies, and like I don't even know what the last movie I watched is. Like I have no idea. But you do need to like give up certain things if you want to do it. And if you're sitting there being like, well, I just don't want to give that up. That's fine. Don't give it up.
Yeah.
You don't have to give it up. But just know that you're never going to get to like X, Y, and Z place because the people that are in X, Y, and Z place, they did give it up.
Yeah.
You can make choices in your life. Like you get to decide. But yeah, you just have to be okay with the outcomes and what sacrifices are you okay with making?
Yeah. And I think it's important too to realize that like this phase of whatever you're trying to build, like we're using growing a following on social media as an example, but like whatever it is you're doing, it's not going to last forever. Like the hope is that you make the sacrifices now so that 5 years from now you can like live a free life.
Such a good point.
And like once you build that community on TikTok or whatever it is, then it's like it's built. So like, yes, you have to maintain that obviously, and that requires hard work as well. But I don't think it's the same as like when you're trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course there's what's the word I'm looking for? Of course there's exceptions, I guess, to what I'm saying. Like if you get canceled and then you have to like rebuild an audience.
If you get canceled, I'm dead.
But hopefully that doesn't happen. And hopefully once you build your audience, it's just about maintaining it, and you can be a little bit more like, maybe you don't have to post 5 videos a day, but like now when you're trying to build something, yeah, you do have to sacrifice watching a show, or you do have to wake up earlier. Like, I don't know, hopefully it won't be that way forever, and that's like the point. But right now it's like, let's go.
Yeah. No, that is such a good point. And it's actually the same as building a house. Like you spend so much time building a house, and while you're building it, you have to sleep in someone else's house. You have to sleep in a less like wonderful place, or live your life a little bit differently, like use this like kitchenette instead of your grand kitchen that you're building, and you have to sacrifice this perfect kitchen for a while. But then once your house is built, you don't then you can actually enjoy it. And yes, you do have to do little things to upkeep it, but the work becomes easier once you put in all of the effort in the beginning to build a strong foundation. And yeah, you need to like grind to build a foundation. And yes, you're so right. Like I'm not trying to like be working this hard forever and be sacrificing everything forever. Yeah. The goal is you sacrifice it now to set yourself up for success later.
I love that. I love the house analogy.
Thanks. I just thought of that when you were talking. I was like, wait, yeah, it's like not even social media is like, it's like everything you build takes time. During the building process, it takes sacrifice. You have to change your life a little bit in order to build it, and then you can enjoy what you just built.
Yes. Ideally.
Yeah. Sure. Not everything is as picture perfect and easy to like map out, but
no, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Sometimes you want to try new things.
I think we just did it.
I think we did it too. Also, can I like another point just to like all of this that I wrote down is separate yourself from people that aren't fueling you, and even if they're making you feel like neutral. And I realized this because for a few years after high school, like, and even in college, a few years after college, I feel like I was always scared to put myself out there or make certain kinds of content or just like try to go for a goal because I'm like, oh, but like what the fear of what people will think, or like these people are surrounding me. Literally, I unfollowed all of them on social media. I know this is like, once again, the millionth time we've all heard this, but unfollowed all of them. Forgot about all of them, out of sight, out of mind. Truly, the less you think about people, the less you think about them. It's just, it's a snowball effect, and it's amazing.
Yes.
If you don't like someone, separate yourself from them in the physical world and on social media. Yeah. Mute them and follow them. Stop hanging out with them. Unless people are fueling you, you don't need to be reminded of them. And I went on a snowball, I went on a bender last night because I went on Facebook and I saw that, okay, I feel bad saying this. I was reminded of people in my high school. And so then I went on this, I just started scrolling on Facebook in this group that was a high school Facebook group. And I was like, oh my God, I literally forgot about all of these people. And it's they probably forgot about me too. So that's not the point I'm trying to make. It's more just I was reminded of all these people. And I was thinking back to high school and being oh my God, that was so weird. Or this was so awkward, or these people and whatever. And I was I've always felt judged by this person or that person, or whatever. And I was ew, I don't like thinking about this. Bye. And I clicked off of it. And then I'm ew, I have the thoughts of people that didn't like me or people that were mean to me in high school. And I was why did I do that? Stop. You unfollowed them for a reason, or you aren't talking, you aren't friends with them right now for a reason. And yes, there are good memories in there too, but those aren't the ones that stand out. Those aren't the ones that I have in the back of my mind. It's more people judging me, people doing mean things to me, whatever. So there's no reason to keep those kinds of people in your life or around you. And if you have a certain friend if your goal is to be a YouTuber and you have someone in your friends of friends group that's like, YouTube is so stupid, it's so embarrassing, but no, goodbye, never talk to that person again. Okay. Yes. We can choose to not hang out with them, and it's like, oh, well, they're friends of my friends, so I don't want to hang out. No, you don't have to hang out with anyone you don't want to. Yeah. And I know it's easier said than done sometimes, but if you feel that people are judging you, good freaking bye. Do you know how many people probably judge us for this podcast? The amount of people, well, maybe people don't think about me as much as I think, but I'm just going to assume that whether I know people or not, they think this podcast is dumb as shit. I don't. I love it. And I'm going to keep doing it, regardless of what people think. So if you don't like it, if you want to judge me, keep those thoughts to yourself. Don't waste my time with it, and I won't waste my time with it either. Like, it's just so... Like, there are so many people that will judge you out of sight, out of mind. Get them out of your life and pursue your dreams on your own path. And I think that the easiest way to get out of, like, to escape the fear of what other people think is to not think about other people. Yeah. So that would be like a huge piece of advice that I would give to anyone that is struggling with the fear of what people think.
Yes. Mic drop. That was so well said.
Really? I feel like that was not well said at all.
It was. I agree with everything. I think it's like, it's also like people don't notice as much as you think they will that you unfollowed them or that even like you blocked them. Like, who is out here like, I mean, whatever, like people do notice these things, but I'm saying if someone, like if you unfollow someone, chances are they probably didn't even notice. Yeah. Or took them a minute to notice, and then it's like, okay, I'll like, cool, like like just do it.
And I feel like if it upsets someone that you unfollow them, that probably, like, I'm not talking close friends or something like that. Like, I'm talking people that you haven't seen in years, or like people that just aren't fueling you. You get negative vibes from them. Yeah. If they actually notice that and get upset about it, that says more about them, because at this point in my life, if I were to notice that someone from college or high school or anything unfollowed me, I am not spending my time thinking about it. I'm spending my time editing the podcast.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
literally.
There are certain people that if you're in my life actively, I'd be like, oh, like, are they mad at me? Do they hate me? Like, did I do something? But I'm talking random people that you do not need to have in your life anymore. Yeah. And you don't need to have the thought of them in your life anymore.
And it's not a reason to not make content or to not do whatever it is you want to do. Like, that is something I had at the very beginning, like before I started making TikToks. I was like, oh, but what if this person sees or this person sees? And the person I was thinking of, they were people that I haven't talked to in months, years, etc. Like, the reality is, like, they don't matter at all. Like, the people's opinions who actually matter are people in my life. And I'm very lucky where I have very supportive friends and family and whatever, but like if any of those people were like, oh, like that's dumb, like that's a different story. But like anyone I was thinking about where I'm like, oh, like what if they see? It's like, okay, and they see. Like, I don't talk to them anymore. I don't pay attention to them. I don't follow them. Like, who cares?
Yeah, and they're gonna be a hater until they're a fan.
Yes. Yep. I'm gonna be laughing my way to the bank in 10 years, and what are they gonna be doing?
Hate watching your videos, giving you money. Every view is $1, baby. Keep them coming. Send it to your friends.
Keeping tabs.
But wait, one more. What did we? Oh yeah. To that point, I was on a ski trip in February with 2 friends, and I was vlogging while I was there. And sometimes I feel bad about vlogging because you have to like ask people to stop talking so that you can have like perfect audio when you're talking to the camera and whatever. And I remember being like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, and these are both people that do YouTube, photography, videography, whatever. And I was like, oh guys, I'm sorry. Like, I'm in a vlog. I'm sorry. They were like, who cares? Like, just do it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm sorry. I just always feel bad if I ask someone to like hold the camera while I like walk through the path and like blah blah blah. And they were like, my one friend was like, if people are getting annoyed at you or judging you for asking them to hold the camera, like, they're probably not your friends. Your friends will want to help you. Yeah. Like, they will want to hold the camera for you. And I was like, my God, that's crazy. I was like, wow. I know. Crazy.
Same goes for pictures too. Like, if you're like, oh, like, can you take a picture of me? And someone's like, sure. It's like, get out of my life. Like,
yeah, I'm asking you for a simple favor.
It takes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
No, I know. And like, obviously there's levels to it. Like, if all I care about is my own vlog, like, I can see why people would be annoyed. Yeah. But like, it's little things. It's like, it's certain. And if you said to someone, look, it really means a lot to me. Like, I need to like take this picture or do this video or like whatever. It's a long-term goal. Yeah. You know? I mean, for some people, obviously sometimes it's like you just want a cute little photo for Instagram, which is fine too. But like, if you have a goal of doing something and you're asking your friends to help you and they're like being so annoyed by this simple little thing that's actually gonna like make progress on your goal, like, that's really sad. Yeah. I get like there's some certain times people get annoyed, people are tired, like whatever. But if there's someone that's constantly bringing negativity to your life, bye.
The unfollow button is free. Sweetie.
Yes. No, that's so true.
Yeah.
The unfollow button is free. Wow. I'm going to go through and
put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. I'm going to go start blocking people on TikTok. Or I mean, not TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah. Wait, should we put that on a sticker? You know how we talked about putting phrases on stuff and then putting them up on the city? Okay.
Yeah. Blocking people or unfollowing people, or the unfollow button is free.
Yeah.
Yes.
In our font.
Yeah. Love it.
Look at us, businesswoman, making it happen.
I'm going to go unfollow a bunch of people that are my friends.
I keep stuttering today. So
Me
sorry.
too. It's just so early.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. No, because you were up until 3 a.m. building something.
Yeah, I was building my business and my brand. I was in meetings with China until 3 a.m. What were you doing? Sleeping? While you were sleeping, I was out making moves.
I feel like this went from rut to like...
how to build a business.
Yeah,
I know. It really did. I'm like reading my list of rut things. I'm like, none of that's relevant anymore.
Yeah, no.
Like, I have 20 more points that are not relevant.
No. Okay.
So what should we call it instead?
Literally how to build something 101.
How to succeed in business without really trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, by actually trying.
Right.
How to succeed in business, you have to try.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, you have to do something today.
And everyone's like, and what business did you build?
Well, come back in 5 years.
Slay, come back in 1 year.
1 year. Actually, we were talking about something like last night in a text or whatever, so like silly, but I feel like my thing right now is like, yeah, in 1 year, like I'm gonna do this. And it's like the reality is like 1 year is kind of soon.
Yeah, it is. It is soon.
Like, okay, I gotta start making moves, people.
Yeah, but when you put the effort in, it's a snowball.
Yeah. Like I'm really stuck on this idea of like I want to live in LA for a month or something. Like a year from now, just like live somewhere else and maybe even do like a swap, like a house swap.
That's so cool.
But in order to make that happen and have the disposable funds, like we gotta get grinding.
We gotta get cracking. So anyway, share this with your friends.
Fund my month in LA next year, please.
But you'll benefit from it too because we'll create even more content to entertain you.
Oh yeah, you don't want to see me in Erewhon doing those hauls. Let's just say that much.
No, you do.
Danger zone.
Now the Erewhon hauls. My dream.
Literally my dream.
That is your dream. It's so
it is.
Funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, let's wrap it up. And let's do how to get out of a rut on another day.
Yeah. We'll circle back on that.
But it just shows how passionate we are about this, you know?
Yes.
We talked about habits. That was good.
So much passion, so little time.
So true. Wow.
Time to grind. Bye.
Anyway, we'll be back at our desk in the next few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching our podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.